I finished up getting to the stage where I had a commercial pilot's licence and an instructor's rating, and nobody had given me a job. And then I was very, very fortunate to make it into the Australian Navy. The Wessex was obtained by the Australian Navy in 1963 as an anti-submarine aircraft. I've learnt to fly helicopters on a very, very unpleasant machine called a Bristol Sycamore, which made a spirited attempt to kill me.
There have been a number of attempts on your life over the years, haven't there?
No, this one really was. We lost the tail rotor and spun into the ground and rolled down a hill and burst into flames. So I was less than enthusiastic about going to the Westland Wessex. And I was amazed to find how pleasant an aircraft it was. Yeah. It's a big aircraft, as you can see, and it's powered by a single Gazelle gas turbine engine, and you'd swear to God that this tiny little engine wouldn't do anything for it, but in fact it was an extremely powerful aircraft, very manoeuvrable, extremely light on the controls, and it had the ability to be able to operate in an absolutely no visibility environment. Dense fog, black night, you could still fly the Wessex. Towards the end of my naval career, I flew these things off the Sydney going up to Vietnam. We carried a crew of 4, 2 pilots because it was very, very intense flying operation, particularly when you're on instrument conditions, pitch black night, that sort of thing. So you really needed 2 pilots to be able to operate, and we had an observer to do the navigation and a sonar operator to work the sonar. When we were chasing submarines, everybody was in it. We could hear the sonar pings and the returns, and there's a lot of things in the water that look like submarines. Okay. So after you've got a contact, the next thing is to try and figure out whether you've really got a submarine. Okay.
Or a whale, or a shipping container, or
shoal of fish. A knuckle in the water caused by a ship turning. A rock. We had a rock just off the coast of Nowra, and of course there's about a 4-knot set down the coast, so we'd drop the new sonar operators into the water near this thing, and they'd track this 4-knot rock.
Okay, and so this particular Wessex, did you fly this one?
I've flown every Wessex the Navy had, so yeah, okay. I've flown this one.
Okay.
I started way back in 1989 and did my pilot's course at Point Cook, and then helicopters at Fairburn, flying squirrels, and then posted at Townsville, and I transitioned onto Black Hawk helicopters, and for most of my Army helicopter time has been on Black Hawks, both with 5 Regiment, the school at Oakey, and 6 Regiment down in Sydney, and then in the headquarters in a support or standards role. So yeah, whilst I've flown Iroquois and Kiowa in passing, my type rating relies on Black Hawk helicopters, so I've flown them both domestically here in Australia, from Perth, Darwin, down to Melbourne and all the way through North Queensland clearly, and then I also had a posting to the United States Army Aviation Training Centre at Fort Rucker, so I flew Black Hawks in Fort Rucker.
Tell me how many hours you've got in the air.
Well, total I think I'm about 8,000 and something, of which 5,000 would be Black Hawk. And I'm still flying Black Hawk at the moment with some companies as the US Army Black Hawks make their way to civil industry and firefighting and heavy lifting. There are some companies in Australia, one in New Zealand, that they're bringing them in, and I get to go and support them with check and training.
So on the Helicopters Open Day in January in 2023, people can come in and see our helicopters, meet you, meet some of our other guides. What helicopters does the QAM have?
Yeah, we have a reasonably good selection of helicopters. So, starting from the smallest, we have the R-22, which was one of the most prevalent helicopters in civil industry, made by Robertson, clearly. And if you go learning to fly a helicopter, that is most likely what you'll learn to fly on, is the R-22. Then we moved to the Bell 47, which is iconic. It was the first of the civil-rated helicopters and made famous by the TV series MASH. And the Army used them. They're known as the G3 Sioux. Next to the 47, we'll have the Bell 206B Jet Ranger, or in Army colours, it's known as the Kiowa or an OH-58, and this one is actually a Kiowa, built for the Australian Army and used by the Australian Army for over 40 years. And then we have the UH-1H Iroquois. 310 is our Iroquois here, which we have a quick chat about. Now, it's interesting. If you have a close look at it, you'll notice that there's a tinge of orange underneath it, because this aircraft deployed to Bougainville for several years as part of the Opolisi peacekeeping force. And to differentiate our Hueys from the PNG/EDF Hueys, we painted this aircraft bright orange, day-glow orange all over. And there's a little bit of that colour scheme just showing through as the aircraft weathers now as to why it's got an orange tinge underneath it, which is there. Then the next one in size we have is the Wessex, the Westland Wessex, which is a built under licence copy of a Sikorsky H-58 aircraft, and it was used by our Australian Navy for many years as an anti-submarine platform off the aircraft carriers, the Melbourne. And then we have a sneaky one in the corner, a French aircraft, a Dudgeon, and it is it's a little neat, but we'll let people who come to the museum work out what's unique about it, because it's quite an interesting aircraft in its own right. No, I don't want to spoil the surprise.
It's a fascinating little aircraft, and it does some interesting things. You can get hands-on with this little aircraft, and it's amazing. Dave, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
Helicopters, helicopters, helicopters. January the 21st, 2023 is the Queensland Air Museum Helicopters Open Day. Don't miss it. Between 10 and 4 that day, it's going to be all helicopters. We'll have all of our military and civilian helicopters open, with guides who have flown in or worked on these aircraft and have great stories to tell. We'll run engines, we'll have helicopter simulators and other activities for the kids. You'll be able to book a joy flight over Caloundra in one of the Ocean View Robinson helicopters, and so much more. Mark your diary now, January the 21st, 2023, for the QAM Helicopters Open Day. See you there.